I will now take 2 weeks leave. I will now consult with my family, and I will make an announcement in the next 2 weeks as to what I'm going to do with the next phase of my life. I'm prepared to serve my country in any capacity. This certainly is a bend in the road in my career, but it's certainly not the end of my career.
From the Pan-Africanist Congress to the Democratic Alliance, that's just how adept at politics Patricia de Lille is. She's also a fighter and has staying power. The country remains deeply interested in her life, and so her next move is what has us all wondering. She now joins us from our Cape Town studios. Ms. de Lille, good morning. Welcome to the first morning edition of The Fix.
Thank you.
Now, Patricia, you have, of course, left the Democratic Alliance. You've told us you're going to consider your options. We're going to come back to that before, the interview is over, because everyone wants to know what your next move is. But just quickly, what was the absolute defining, driving factor for you falling out with the Democratic Alliance?
First of all, Karima, we must remember why I joined the Democratic Alliance. I joined the Democratic Alliance together with the Independent Democrats and Helen Zille to build an alternative to our country. Also, at the time, the DA had the values of redress, reconciliation, delivery, and diversity. And I could live with that. And I worked tirelessly to build this project after we came together. Now that the DA is getting rid of me, they're also getting rid of this project. But the ultimate thing started after the 2016 elections, when under my leadership we increased the support of the Democratic Alliance from 61% to 66%. And then people wanted all kinds of positions. And, again, after the elections, after we were all DA when we fought the elections, then some characters in the DA, like J.P. Smith, started accusing me of wanting to put ex-ID members forward as in executive position. That, of course, was a lie. But he took it further to say that I have used, city-owned money to renovate my house. And I had to defend myself. And at that time, I was prepared, and I did open up my banking account to show that I paid for it myself. And council has now just cleared me of that. And then thereafter, I was suspended, putting on special leave, and I got a different treatment from J.P. Smith. And even now that I left the DA, Karima, they continue to make these allegations of corruption. Today, I want to challenge them. Please, if you have any evidence, come forward with that evidence. I am prepared, again, to open up my banking accounts. I am prepared to go for a lifestyle audit and to show people my name has become synonymous with fighting corruption in this country. And I challenge the DA. They can phone me tomorrow. They can make an appointment. I'll open up my banking accounts for them. And they can subject me to a lifestyle audit. I've never taken a cent from government or from any citizen of this country.
Patricia, sorry. Hi, it's Peter Bruce. Just the one thing that I've noticed that you have not answered, you've been very open and insistent that you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But you won't answer the questions about the SMS, the famous SMS that I think Gareth van Onselen and you had a debate about the other day. Why won't you answer that question? Why won't you just say whether you sent it or not?
Well, because Bruce, as you know, that we live in a country where we respect the rule of law, where we need to follow due process. It's either I need to be found guilty of a court of law or in a disciplinary process of the Democratic Alliance. I've attempted to do that. I had to turn to the court to ask the DA to give the evidence so that evidence can be tested. The DA under oath James Self, and the affidavit is before the court, said to me, no, they can't give me the evidence so that it could be tested because all the Democratic Alliance internal meetings are confidential and private.
Yeah.
Now, that SMS has never been tested.
Yeah.
I've said it must be tested in a disciplinary hearing open to the media, open to the public, because I don't want to be persecuted in the media. I want to be found guilty or not guilty in a properly constituted process. And I'm still willing to do that. If they want to bring that SMS now, I'll bring my lawyers, we will test it, because the Democratic Alliance only released that SMS in June after they lost the court case. Yeah. But in the same court case, they said they can't produce the evidence. So they are just hypocrites.
Patricia, there's been a lot of fallout after you have left the Democratic Alliance. A lot of councillors have resigned.
Yes.
One which has been involved in your low-cost housing campaign. Many people are arguing that the funders of the Democratic Alliance wasn't happy with the way in which you approached integration in the city. Your detractors, of course, argued that you acted against the poor and acted in service of the property developers. My understanding is that just last week, the final touches to bring people closer to, let's say, places like Voortrekker Road was actually sent back, and that your program is now going to be kicked out. Just for the city of Cape Town residents, in terms of the housing issues and getting to work and so on, it's a very big issue. Where is the Democratic Alliance now? Are they going to scupper the program that you've put in place?
First of all, what Councillor Brett Herren and myself did, we only implemented the DA's national manifesto that said we must deal with apartheid spatial planning and that we must integrate cities. There are some people in the DA who certainly don't believe in that program. And so, under my leadership, we released 11 pieces of land in Salt River, Woodstock, and in the city centre. And those people, the opponents against integration, have mobilized other councillors to block all of these projects. And I've done nothing wrong, neither did Councillor Brett Herren, because what we are bringing people that is being forcibly removed by apartheid from Woodstock and Salt River and the city centre. We are just bringing people back by building affordable housing. And there are some people who just want to keep Cape Town the way it is right now, where you've got this divide between the rich and the poor. And so if they continue to block this project, it will show the hypocrisy of saying one thing just to get votes, but when it comes to implementing the policies of the party, then some people want to block it. And the residents, I've got many phone calls from residents, and I will go and show in the coming week exactly where those plots are. Those plots have been lying sterile for over 60, 70 years. It's become a dumping site, and we want to put affordable housing there for poorer people.
Patricia, was there a point when you after you joined the DA, you said you joined, when Helen was there, and we all remember the poster of you and Helen and Lindiwe Mazibuko for, I can't remember the election, 2009 I think it was. What happened to the DA after you joined it? And is it a leadership question? Should Helen have stayed on as leader if she'd been able to? Would you be in this position had she been the leader?
I have now had time to reflect and just assess the whole situation. It is certainly not the same Democratic Alliance that I've joined under the leadership of Helen Zille. There's a lot of fluff. There's not leadership that can take the country forward. In fact, the kind of leadership that we see display in the DA is trying to take our country back. And I've always said that, I will always respect Helen Zille because she was very strong when she was the party leader to make sure that we respect the internal systems and due processes of the party. I've publicly said to Mmusi Maimane, leader, I feel very hurt that you have not protected me, that you have not made sure that, in my case, that the party followed due process. So, and then, of course, there is this ostrich head in the sand approach, attacking myself, attacking the councillors that is left, instead of be honest and say, but all of them can't be lying. All of them have not just decided yesterday, but we actually have evidence of what we have tried to engage with Mmusi Maimane. I had 3 secret meetings with Mmusi Maimane where he didn't want to know the party leadership that he's actually met with me. But that's for another day, Bruce. I am writing a book where I'm going to detail and expose all of these lies and damn lies and, the smearing of my name, because I'm determined to regain my credibility and integrity in this country.
Whether Helen Zille has been part of that process of smearing your name?
Helen Zille has been, at one stage, Bruce, I wasn't talking to the Democratic Alliance, and they wanted to start talking again. And I said, look, I'm only prepared to talk to you if I can select an intermediary that can speak on my behalf. I then approached Helen Zille, and I said, Helen, please, can you be that intermediary for me? Which she agreed to do. And we made good progress. But then when Mmusi Maimane realized that Helen might possibly come with a solution, he objected that how can the ex-leader come and find a solution to this problem? So Helen has always stood by due process. She's not entered much into the substance of the allegations, but in terms of due process and systems, she took a principled stance there and said to the Democratic Alliance, how can you have a disciplinary hearing going and at the same time you're moving several motions of no confidence against Patricia?
Patricia, we all know that you are now done with the Democratic Alliance. A lot of people have left. Everybody wants to know what you're going to do next. You have been a trade union organizer. You have been a member of the PAC at CODESA. You formed your own independent Democrats, and of course you went to the Democratic Alliance. By all accounts, it appears as if you want to play a role in the political and social life of the country. Take us into your confidence. I know you said you want a break and you want 2 weeks to think about it, but what is going to happen between now and those 2 weeks? What processes are you involved in, engaged in, to get to the decision about how you want to serve the country? You described yourself as a patriot. So, for example, are you going to form a new ID or resuscitate it? Are you going to become a head of an NGO? Will you take up an ambassador post if it's offered to you? How are you going to make that decision, and what is that decision going to be?
Karima, like you said, I've asked for the space, to decide what to do with the next phase of my life. I can share with you the options that I'm considering. I have been approached by civil society, by some foundations to become involved as an activist, because, you'll never get the activist out of me. I've also been approached to become involved in some of the NGOs. The two that I currently serve on is the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and I've always said that I want to give my full attention to that. Then I've also been approached by other political parties to join them, and I have said, listen, give me the space, because I am rethinking and just sitting back now and looking at the template of the current political situation in our country. I do think that people are, disillusioned with the way the political parties operating. We are due for the elections now in 2019, and you will see the same people get recycled on the list, because the only way people fight to go back onto the list is because they want to complete 15 years so that they have their pension. So we're sitting with a lot of pensioners there. I'm also looking at an idea as to, if I go back into politics, how do I help young people and create the opportunity for young people that they can go in and say to in the corridors of power, nothing about us without us, because the young people are our future.
Yeah.
And I've engaged with many young leaders, and I've spoken to them. And then this coming week, I'm going to go also back to the communities. First of all, to say thank you to the electorate who voted for me in 2016, and also ask them for their views. So definitely before the 18th, or on the 18th, I will be making an announcement, Karima.
Is this the 18th of November? So the 18th of November, South Africa will know what Patricia de Lille's next move is going to be.
Yeah.
All right, Patricia, that is where that is where we will leave it. We'll, of course, track your consultations with communities all over the country, and, of course, await that decision and see if you're going to dip your toe right back into formal politics. Thank you very much, Patricia de Lille, former mayor of Cape Town, joining us here on The Fix. Well, still ahead on The Fix, we sit down with former SARS spokesperson Adrian Lakay to reflect on the sacking of ex-SARS boss Tom Moyane.